Ole Miss humiliated by Coastal Carolina 9-2 to go 1-2 in the Bruce Bolt Classic in Houston, Texas. This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. Let's talk about all about it.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast out there. I'm your host, Stephen Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former Ole Miss football staff member. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one sports podcast network in America. That's all because of fans like you taking in content like this, and we cannot be more appreciative. On today's show, we'll talk about how Dom Decker was the only bright spot. Ole Miss committed 3 errors, I believe. They walked a lot of batters. They overall just played horribly. Not what we've come to expect over the little bit. And the offense was very inefficient. A couple of players had multiple hits. A couple of guys got on base multiple times, but nothing could be sustained against a team that I know they were second in College World Series a year ago. They gave up double-digit runs their first 2 games in this tournament. I figured the Ole Miss offense would have been more than competitive against them, especially with some of their bigger arms not being available. That was not the case. This offense today was very inefficient, other than the significant power surge, apparently, by Dom Decker, somebody that went from hitting no collegiate home runs to hitting 4 in about a span of 2 weekends. So that is pretty interesting of what's going on. Anyway, all of this and more coming up on today's Locked On Ole Miss podcast. Remember, we're free and available on all the podcast apps and on YouTube, and a special hello to the insiders and everydayers who make this show what it is, and that is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into bigger potential wins with college basketball's Parlay Profit Boost. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. All right. This game is an example of why that Baylor game was so important and why people were kind of upset about that. That game that Ole Miss let get away stands out more because this was always going to be the toughest matchup of the weekend. This was always going to be the least percentage win capable game of the weekend. Everybody thought you would be able to pitch your way through Baylor, which you did, striking out 20 Bears, and you still managed to lose that game in extra innings. Ohio State was Ohio State. They lost over 40 games a year ago. You beat them 8-0. Still didn't hit the ball very well. This whole weekend, the bats just weren't available other than the long ball. Judd Udemark was pretty silent over the course of the weekend. It was basically the offense coming from my boy, Dom Decker, and I like that. He's the leadoff guy that you want, but you need the big guys to be the big guys. Now, Tristan Becerra had a good tournament as well. I think he ended up going 2 for 4 today. He had a really good tournament. But Will Furness is not really. When you look at Austin Foley, no, he's kind of off to a very slow start. And other than 2 or 3 batters over the course of the weekend, you just weren't very effective. And then when you start making errors in the field, the fielding problem rears its ugly head. When you start walking batters as pitching, there's just no margin for error with this team whenever that happens in the field or walking on the mound, because the offense can be so inefficient at times. They look great at times whenever the roster looks constructed well and Hayden Federico and Dom Decker are getting on base, which they did today, by the way, are getting on base, and the big guys are creating, instead of hitting solo home runs, they're hitting 3-run home runs, and you're like, whoa, this is pretty exciting. This is pretty neat to see what's going on. But when those power bats don't hit, this team does not manufacture runs. When you look at the scorebook over the course of this weekend against Baylor, against Ohio State, against Coastal Carolina, you'll see that Ole Miss really only scored runs courtesy of the long ball. They couldn't necessarily bunt. They can't move runners over. There's base running errors. And when all that happens, you have fielding errors and walks, and the other team can take advantage because you don't have the margin for error that you need to have. And today was an example of that. I think Coastal Carolina only had 7 hits for the game. They ended up scoring 9 runs on 7 hits. A lot of that thanks to Ole Miss walks, and a lot of that thanks to Ole Miss errors. And because of that, Coastal Carolina had all the margin for error today. You could do whatever you want to. Ole Miss didn't walk very much in this game. They just didn't. When you look at it, let's see, Dom Decker had a walk, Colin Reuter had 2 walks, and that was it. Ole Miss walked 3 times today. And looking at the lineup, Dom Decker, 1 for 3 with a walk. He had both of the RBIs in the game because of the home run. Judd Mark drew the collar. Tristan Becerra, 2 hits on 4 at bats, 2 for 4. Colin Reuter, 0 for 2 with 2 walks. Will Furnace, 0 for 4. Colin Golden, which they ruled it as an infield single, said he was 1 for 3, but it very well could have been an error on the shortstop. You look at Austin Foley, 0 for 3. Braden Brandel, 0 for 3. Hayden Federico, 2 for 3. I am hopeful that he gets going a little bit. But Ole Miss not walking, not being effective. They only scored runs on the long ball. The pitcher was erratic with 4 walks. He threw 44 strikes and 33 balls in his 77 pitches. Robertson hooks were okay, but the damage was kind of done at that point. The offense just was completely ineffective for Ole Miss in this game. I know there's certain people who are going to watch this. It's like, we got to blame it on the coach. They're doing what they're taught to do. And that's not the case. The reason I don't say that and believe that is because when you look at this team, when they're clicking, it doesn't look like this at all. You see hitting the ball. You see aggressive nature on the base path. You see a baseball team having fun, not the 3 outcome station to station baseball that this offense can get bogged down in. And I don't know if that's not getting on base. I don't know what it is. Are they having kind of the yips a little bit? I don't know. But this offense needs to get well because Tuesday you got the Memphis Tigers. Wednesday you've got North Alabama getting ready for the last weekend non-conference series at home against Evansville before it gets real. And we talked about the whole time about this team needing to stack wins. They needed to stack wins because not doing so would put them in a giant hole because of how tough their SEC schedule is. They don't play South Carolina. They don't play Missouri. It is basically just a run through RPI top 25 teams. So the margin for error on this baseball team is small. When they're good, they can be really good. When they're bad, they can be really bad. You have a low floor, high ceiling team with this Ole Miss Rebel baseball team this year. You have really good pitching when they're in the strike zone. You don't have the margin for error to give up walks. You have to live in the strike zone and throw strikes. And if you don't do that, they will tear you apart. All right. In the second segment, if you want to leave a comment, leave a comment. We will talk about that. Put where you're commenting from. If you don't mind, we'll also take questions about other sports and other things if you are in here watching this as well. So we appreciate you coming in for the live stream as we overreact to this Ole Miss game, and we'll see exactly how it goes. But when you look at what is happening for Ole Miss, for the chance to do something well, for the chance to, get into grooves with this baseball team, Ole Miss does not seem to be able to string enough offense together to do that. We'll take your comments if there are any next. If not, we'll get ready for our next show tomorrow morning. We'll get ready to record that tonight as well. But right now, this is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. College basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night from early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts. There's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving away to turn that energy into an even bigger potential win with college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college parlay you want, rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever fits your read. You can mix spreads, totals, player props to match how you see the slate playing out. Then you can apply the profit boost and instantly bump up the potential buyout. Listen, if college basketball isn't your thing, Ole Miss got a big win last night against the Auburn Tigers. But if college basketball at this point isn't your thing, Trinidad Chambliss tied for the best odds to win the Heisman Trophy next season. So look at the odds around your team. If they're in season, go safe, go bold, ride with your team that you've been following all season. It's your parlay, your style, now with more upside to it. Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have left to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need to make the right hire, this is the job for Sponsored Jobs. Indeed, Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people that actually fit what you're looking for, skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping for the right candidate. You're not just hoping that they stumble across your post. And here's a stat that kind of says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing. That sounds pretty cool, right? And listeners to this show will get $75 in sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard it about on Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but I never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps involve significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. Hey, do us a favor, like, subscribe, and comment on the video. Subscribe to whatever podcast you're listening to and give it a 5-star review. Thank you for making Lock On Ole Miss your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network in America. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today to get Locked On Ole Miss with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and so much more. All of that just for $5 a month or $50 per year. Go to lockedonolemiss.supercast.com or check the link down in the show notes to learn more. All right, so disappointing tournament for Ole Miss. It was not the tournament that you were hoping for when we were talking about it during the week. You figured the pitching, we talked to Chad Smith. He talked about how pitching should get you past Baylor. Well, 20 strikeouts, they should have done it, but the bullpen kind of let you down. Base running errors made you let down, and inefficient offense. That's the story of the weekend. Even in the game, they won 8-0. It was inefficient offense, and that was the story of what was going on. Against Coastal Carolina, there was pretty much, other than Dom Decker, no offense. And when you have that situation, that's kind of hard to come back from. So we'll see exactly how that goes. We'll see how it all shakes out. Memphis, Tuesday night. North Alabama, Wednesday night. It's a chance for Ole Miss to get right. They have to win both of those games. You cannot slip up in the midweek now. You have to stack wins non-conference with this SEC slate coming up. The non-conference slate will be so important moving forward. It'll be more important than it normally is. Anyway, thanks for tuning in today to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. We're going to continue to talk about college baseball all week long, so make sure you subscribe and follow the show so you get all of the latest episodes. We're on all of the social channels, so check that out as well. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Ole Miss ad-free, plus members-only Discord access, and more. Head to lockedonolemmiss.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we're going to send you on over to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you check out a second listen. Either Locked On SEC or Locked On College Football is available. Coastal Carolina 9, Ole Miss 2 from the Bruce Bolt Classic in Houston, Texas. They come back home for a 5-game stand, and we'll be here to talk all about it. So take care. Hotty toddy, everyone.